Please welcome Dr. Iain Kerr.
You know, Bill, some people thought you were me. I think I have more hair.
You have way more hair.
Oh, well, anyway.
I'm just more committed to the look than you are, Doctor.
That's
what it is.
That is true. Well, thank you all for coming here today. It's going to be a sort of a different type of talk, a little bit of humor in there. But I've been studying whales now for over 30 years. I've worked all over the world, 20 different countries. And you know what? It's tough to study a whale. You're looking at it, and it dives under the water, and then it's gone. Just imagine you're studying an elephant on the Serengeti, and it disappeared under the sands and came up 5 miles away. You know, it's tough studying whales. So it's an amazing time. I mean, I'm loving this show, but all of these technologies, bringing all these new sensors together, are enabling us to do things that I couldn't even have dreamed of 5 years ago. So I'm going to take you on a trip, if you like, around the world and into the world of whales. Now, the first thing we have to do, I apologize, but we have to educate you. And I ask you all to leave with a couple of things in your mind, benefits of FLIR, but the first thing is we do not live on planet Earth. We live on planet Ocean. How can you call a planet covered 71% by water Earth? You know? So we live on planet Ocean. And you know what's interesting? 2 out of every 3 are we still there? Oh, that. 2 out of every 3 breaths we take come from our oceans. Billions of people rely on seafood as their primary source of meat protein. So the largest mediating force on this planet are our oceans. And let's be blunt, while I love whales, the reality is it's their own self-interest, okay, to have healthy oceans. So I also think there's a new blue economy coming on, and this might be announcing it right here on this beeper. But there's a new blue economy. If you just think of a perspective of mass, we're filling up our land masses, you know what I mean? And we've got a huge ocean.
I just want to tell you what's going on here. That announcement is telling you that they've restored power in the central hall. But you're not going anywhere. You want to win a FLIR camera, don't you?
That's right. That's right.
Back to you, Doc.
Yeah, if anybody leaves, I'll snot them. Anyway, no, just kidding. Okay, so the reality is, though, I really do feel there's like a new blue economy coming, because just from a perspective of like land mass or ocean mass, you know what I mean? We're filling up the land masses, so anything we're going to be doing on the land, we're probably going to be doing in the ocean. Mining, agriculture, drugs, recreation. And my big thing is just sustainable. I help people decide what impact this has on animals, you know. So I look for sustainable ocean industries. And, you know, I'm a cup half full guy, and you've probably all heard it, but it's an exciting time to be an oceanographer because people say we know more about the surface of the moon than we do our oceans. Now, listen, I'm a high-tech guy. I love it, but that's insane. You know, I've almost said that there's blue blood that goes through planet Ocean's veins, and yet we know nothing or very little about that blue blood. But at this point, I think with the new technologies we're seeing at this show, it's just a really exciting time to be in oceanography. And by the way, there are some funky whales out there. That was a beluga. That's a blue whale. The tongue weighs 7 tons. This is a Yangtze River dolphin. Alas, it's extinct. A southern right whale. And one of my favorites, actually the unicorn of the ocean, a narwhal, and then blind pink dolphins that live in the oceans. So there are over 88 species of whales. And actually dolphins are just small toothed whales, okay? But again, it's crazy, 88 species of whales, and it's amazing how little we know about them. This is sort of the greyhound of the sea called a fin whale. So again, it's exciting. But why do we know so little? Because these animals can be a little elusive. I think so as a biologist, you know, people say to me, why should I care about whales? Well, I mean, my opinion may be different to yours. The first one is they're a good bioindicator species. And I'm sure you understand whales are mammals like us. They're found all over the planet, and they're at the top of the food chain. So if you want to understand what's going on in ocean's food chains, you can just look at whales. Now, Bill, I think we should have a giveaway here. I want a bit of audience participation. you know, scientists, whatever, we all like to have like funky names for things. So can somebody tell me what they think I'm talking about when I talk about a nitrogen pump? Anthony. Okay, well, come on, let's say it.
He said it really well.
I know, but say whale shit. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you, Anthony. Please give Anthony a FLIR whale T-shirt. That's a collector item. Yeah, it's sort of interesting, though, and something else just for you to think about. Remember I said 2 out of every 3 breaths come from the ocean? That's because the ocean surface is covered with phytoplankton, 71% of the planet. And I actually believe that a lot of fisheries are doing poorly now because we killed millions of whales. And those millions of whales were pooping. And trust me, when you get a 100-ton animal eating 5% of its body weight, it's pooping 1 or 2 tons a day. So 1 or 2 tons of nitrates on the ocean surface is thereby fertilizing the oceans. So I really believe that it speaks back to food chains, almost like an anchor chain. You remove a link from an anchor chain, it doesn't work. So I actually think nitrogen pumps, thank you, Anthony, are important for our ocean ecosystem. On the flip side, you know, the nitrogen pumps at the surface, on the bottom of the ocean, when whales die, you know, a 100-ton animal lying at the bottom, they believe species worked across ocean floors going from dead whale to dead whale, and they called them whale falls. You're probably all aware, a friend of mine said in the 60s that he thought a live whale will be worth more than a dead whale. Whale watching is one of the biggest industries in the world right now, bringing in millions of dollars in you know, all cities worldwide. So bioinnovation, a friend of mine's in the Navy, and he said they think that whale sonar is light years ahead of even some of our best military sonar. And again, they're deeply embedded in our culture. I mean, how cool is that? 334 BC, and there's a coin with a dolphin on it. The other cool thing for me, I don't know if you know about the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft that have gone into deep space. Our whale recordings are on those records, and those spacecraft are now in the heliosphere, where the solar winds from other suns are greater than our suns. And you know what's cool? There's all this stuff about humans on it, and then, by the way, here are some whale songs. I'm going to play you some whale songs. Yeah, there we go. David's got it. This is one animal recycling the sound and making these sounds. So what's interesting, and I'm sorry if I'm going to lower the tone, I have to make sure Bruce isn't here, I don't want to get in trouble, but don't want to lower the tone here, but we think that the animal that sings the best song, a song lasts about 20 minutes, the animal that sings the best song is probably the fittest animal. Do you know what I mean? It's the strongest animal and the best animal to mate with. I'm not quite sure if that applies to our species. Certainly musicians seem to have a higher reproductive activity, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's just move on from that. I'm sorry, we're talking about whales here. Okay. Oh. So here's the other weird thing. I live in this world of sort of catch-22, okay? I've got endangered species, and on the right-hand side, people are saying to me, that animal is endangered. We need to learn everything we can about it. We need to biopsy it, satellite tag it, track it, do everything we can. And then on the other side, people are saying, don't even look at the whale. We don't want to hasten the whale's demise. So one of the things we're doing with FLIR Technologies is collecting biological information from a whale non-invasively. Now, I'm a Brit, and I wanted to really push this new tool of like a non-invasive research tool. So I did a little Kickstarter campaign. And if you're going to do a Kickstarter campaign, you need to make a video. So I have to tell you, I called up my friend Jean-Luc Picard, Professor Xavier, Sir Patrick Stewart, and I said, Patrick, can I come and harass you in the name of science to talk about non-invasive research? And he's like, Iain, absolutely. So here we have an afternoon at home with Sir Patrick Stewart. I'm just collecting data.
Iain, what the heck is that? What is going on?
I'm just measuring your stress levels.
All right, Iain, enough of this harassment. I need to know what is going on.
I'm collecting your snot.
Why do you need my tissue with my snot on it?
Come outside and I'll explain it to you.
What's going on here?
We're really looking for ways to collect biological data without harassing the animals. And here comes our drones we affectionately call Snotbot. Ocean Alliance has been... All right, you gotta love that, Snotbot. So here is Snotbot with a FLIR camera on it. And in short, we literally fly this into a whale's blow. We collect the blow on the Petri dishes, and we get DNA, RNA, stress hormones. And here's an example. I'm flying up in the air, first-person view in the drone. Oh, my God, look at that. Look at this. Oh. All that biological information is just throwing up in the air for me. And I choose the animal all the way to your right there because it's upwind. And I'm going to fly the drone. I could almost do it here, but like just flying over the whale here. And I wait until the whale gets close, okay? And then when it gets close, I think it's coming up. All right, I'll move in, and bingo. You folks have now all been snotted, okay? But what's amazing then, it's an incredibly simple tool. And I think there's been a problem in the past with science almost being a prerogative of the privileged. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's wonderful that Scripps has got a $53 million research vessel that costs $2 million a month to run, but this is not really a replicable, scalable tool that other people can use. I mean, some of you might think that these cameras at, you know, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 are a lot, but for a guy like me, for what they do, I mean, they're priceless, you know, and it's really exciting. So the second thing is, I hope you're enjoying here these priceless images of whales at night. No one has ever seen these images before. And clearly, you all know that I think I have a sense of humor. I'm trying, at least. Maybe I should switch to comedy. But here's the reality. We do not study whales at night. I mean, imagine if you said you wanted to study a human being and you were going to study that human being in the kitchen. In the case of me, you'd learn nothing unless you're into pizza. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And actually, we do a lot of bioacoustic work. You know, we have hydrophones and we listen to the animals, and there seems to be a lot more noise at night. And I do know they say the largest migration on the planet is at night when benthic animals come to the surface to feed on the phytoplankton, the zooplankton, and the smaller fish. So the most productive part of whales, we don't know what they're doing BF. That's before FLIR. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video here. I sped it up a little bit, but here's some FLIR and whales. Now this was really cool. I'm like, what the heck is that? We couldn't see it. I realized, of course, it's like the whale footprints. So I sent my other drone ahead and got him over the whale. We had no idea, you know, but we could follow the footprints. And here I'm moving around a little bit. But you can really see those bright spots. Those are the whale blows. I mean, look how bright they are. You can't miss that. And you can almost see the double nostrils there if you look carefully. And I'm sure you know the R FLIRs, the radiometric FLIRs, you can actually interrogate the pixels and actually see what the temperature is. So I tell people, well, actually, I'll leave this for a second. But isn't this cool? I mean, no doubt about it. And, you know, the other thing I like, for me at least, FLIR has these different colors you can set for when you're looking. So I was trying black and white. I think I rather liked the green ones. And I'll move on here, but I think my best announcement of the day is coming up next. And I'm hoping that Bruce, I don't know where he is, if he's got the New York Times here or the press. Are they coming, Bruce? Because, you know, any Game of Thrones fans here? Because we were up in Alaska and we found dragons. And I'm going to show you the first ever footage of dragons using a FLIR camera. Dragons. You know what? If you didn't know what that was, you'd probably be a little confused. But I love all the sort of, I mean, it's happening very quickly here, but we can interrogate all that different color. Do you know what I mean? We can see how the heat is being lost in the blow. I got distracted here and I was looking at whale footprints again. It's okay, Bruce, you can, the New York, they can go. Stand down, thank you. Anyway, I mean, you gotta love this tech. And it's honestly just changing the way we do our work. So here's a typical expedition, eh? We've got quite a lot of gear, okay? Lots of batteries. I will say when I went through customs the first time and said, I've got all this gear to collect whale snot, they took me aside to a little room and sat me down and had a conversation. And this is true. Typically now when I go on an expedition, I say, I'm just filming whales, because it's like, when you start telling them you're collecting snot, it's a little weird. And what's cool, we don't need that $50 million boat. We were using in Mexico a 22-foot boat, and the whale was about 76 feet long. So it's very humbling when the whale would come by and by and by and by, and then the tail would go up. Sort of resets your perspective. By the way, it's not what you think. No, I don't know. Stick with the day job? Okay. So we hand launch the drone. We just hand launch them, hand recover, and we have Petri dishes on the drone. And you see, it's really that simple. But I'm not sure if you're aware, you know, your lungs have some fluid in them. Because if not, when your lungs expand and contract, they would abrade and wear down. So you've got that fluid in them. Whales are what they call explosive exhalers. They really go, you know, and they blow it out. So they are blowing out all of this information again. RNA, stress hormones, pregnancy hormones. So there's been a problem in the past of what we always call the observer effect. You know, I go up like, are you okay? Are you okay? And it's like, I was okay until you started shaking me. I mean, the idea here is almost, you go into the doctor's office, you sit down, you know, and then he comes out 10 minutes later, or she comes out, and they say, you're fine. You know, it's non-invasive research, and who would have thought that a whale blow could be such a powerful vector? So here we are. I feel if you go to the doctor just to collect your bill, they take your temperature. I mean, I go in and we're just going to take your temperature. No one, BF, before FLIR, had actually taken the temperature of a whale. I had some friends, I mean, if anyone wants to volunteer to try to stick a thermometer in a certain place of the whale, you go right ahead, but I'm not going for it. I'm sorry. No, but think about it. How do you do this? One of the most important biological pieces of information we couldn't do, BF, before FLIR. And we're also showing the size of the animal. See the blowhole and the edge there? You can actually measure the animal at night by knowing the size of the focal plane. Here actually, again, you can see the double blowhole, you know, that we interrogate to get the temperature. And all of this with a $2,500 drone with a $3,000 camera. It really is a whole window into a new world. And for a guy like me, I mean, my crew don't like me because they're now like, okay, now we have to work 24 hours a day rather than 12 hours a day. But it's exciting. I mean, that's the other thing you need to understand. You know, when you plan an expedition, it costs a lot of money to go out there to do this work, even with the smaller boat. So to have these types of tools that allow us to get more and more data, more value out of the work is really important to a guy like me. I also helped out this group called Sea Shepherd, and in the Sea of Cortez, there have been these poachers poaching trotaba fish and killing dolphins. Now watch these guys. See that? They're like, holy moly, there's a drone. You know, these guys are clearly scared, dropping their net in the water. Often when there are poachers and there are, you know, officials, there can often be nasty conflicts with guns and people, and it's dangerous. Here, a FLIR camera, nobody's getting involved. The evidence is quite clear. I believe they were even able to get the number off the boat, so they were actually able to prosecute the people that was doing here, and nobody got hurt, no wildlife. So I mean, there are so many different applications that are coming up. This other one is wildlife doesn't like to show if it's sick. You know, animals don't like to show that because they then become more vulnerable to predation. So if I see an animal with a big scar on it, I don't know, is that infected? Should I worry about it? Should I not worry about it? As you saw, maybe I'll just go back here, in this image here, you can really see this was infected and this was not. So just that capacity to be able to respond in real time, even if I don't do anything to the animal, seeing the animal a year later or not seeing the animal, it's all information that helps me to do my job. This was fun. I mean, these were 2 experiments, literally. In the old days, they would stick a thermometer on the animal's skin to try to understand it. Now we just do it with FLIR. And again, user-friendly, field-friendly, and affordable. Those are things that typically don't come together. It's like, you know, incredible data, incredible science, incredible tool, incredibly expensive, you know? And I'm really into, as I say, this democratization of science. And I know there's been other speakers here talking about some of the different wildlife work that can be done with these tools. I have to say, I just love the imaging regardless, you know what I mean? Hang on a minute, there we go. So I think, Bill, I think we should do a little giveaway. Do you have some giveaway stuff here?
I do.
All right. By the way, we also do like photo ID with the whale tails, and we're actually trying to see if the tails have a different thermal ID. All right, so how big, I mentioned a whale poop here earlier. Can anyone remember how big that poop was? Did you say it? Yeah. Do we have 2 things? Can
Sure.
we give one to each? 2 tons, that's correct. All right, so let me ask you this. A blue whale tongue, the tongue of a blue whale. Wow, you guys are good. I think it was this lady over here, Marianne. But you guys are good. I hope I don't make any mistakes and you guys are leaving with the 7 tons. Can you imagine having a tongue that weighs 7 tons? It's, you know, anyway. What else have we got, Bill? Can you think of anything else you want to ask? You got some T-shirts there.
So does anybody have a question for Dr. Iain? Right here, hang on a second. Let's do this. Let's hear a question from Stephen.
It's obvious that your technology goes through a whole range of spectrum. So your sensors, your transducers, what are you really using? Because you're seeing quite a bit in these. Are they multi-sensors?
Say that again.
Are they multi-sensors for different spectrum that you're being able to see the lights?
I'm not quite sure if I understand it. You mean with...
So I believe the question is he wants to know about the quality of the sensor. So right here in the middle of this screen are 2 high-resolution science cameras. They're very high resolution, over 700,000 pixels per camera. But thermal imaging can be as simple as this little camera in my pocket that takes thermal images. So resolution is one thing that separates a camera from another, just like a regular visual camera, right? You might take a selfie with your cell phone, but if you're doing a family Christmas photo, you're probably going to use a better camera. So the same thing's true in using our technology. The better the resolution, the better the application.
And I've been a little cautious, Stephen, because flying over water, it's a little scary to fly a $40,000 camera over the water. But if you want to give me one, Bill, I'll fly a... No, I'm just kidding. Donna, did you have a question? No? Oh, sorry, just Mike.
You said you take the health by taking the snot. The drone looked like it was flying through several. So are you doing the individuals or are you doing the pod?
Yeah, so exactly. So I like to do as many animals as I can, but so in a day, I mean, that's actually a very good point. I used to biopsy animals, okay? And the number of times I got close to the animal and then it dove. And trust me, when you stick a big biopsy sample into a whale, they don't like it. So, and in the past, I would maybe get, if I was lucky, 5 biopsy samples a day. So we'd have a 90-foot boat, 10 people, 5 samples a day. Now, with these drones, because they're doing 40 miles an hour and the whale doesn't know we're coming, do you know what I mean? We're racing over there and I'm getting at least 20 samples a day and I'm in a 24-foot boat, all right? But to your point, we generally will fly into one blow, collect that snot, come back to the boat, the second drone will go out and get the other one. And again, this is why the fingerprinting is good. We try to make sure we do animals that don't have any scars first, and then we remember that one's got a scar, and we do the unscarred one first, and then when we come back on the next flight, you'll see the scarred one, and we'll collect the others. So it's quite interesting, but we're trying to do real population studies, you know what I mean? So we're getting a photo ID of the animal, we're getting a thermal image of the animal, and the thermal image we can interrogate then and there, but the biology, you know, the hormones, the microbiomes, if an animal is sick, these microbiomes can actually explode. I'm sure you're all aware that there are more microbiome cells in your body than your body has cells. So when you're sick, your microbiomes that are really supporting your health can often hurt your health. Did I answer your question? Too much. Did I? Okay.
All right, here we got another question from Anthony here.
We'll
Excuse
come
me.
afterwards.
So understanding your camera technology is being used from a drone so you can get thermal imaging from the surface, do you have any plans to use the cameras underwater, and are they affected by thermal layers?
So I happen to know the answer to that. So water is reflective, so we can't do thermal imaging within water, which is why doctors analyzing the whales as they come to the surface.
But it's exciting. I mean, volumetrics is my next big thing. You know, a skinny whale is clearly not a healthy whale, and actually Intel is supporting me on some of the volumetric stuff. That said, we are thinking of dropping some cameras in the water, almost by a drone, so that we can compare the aerial view with the underwater view to sort of beta test to make sure our data is correct. And then we're hoping after a while we won't have the camera in the water. But what's interesting is the whales can't hear the high frequency noise of the drones, and whales are very used to birds. Often when a whale breaches, okay, it breaks off skin and the birds come down, and when whales are lunging out of the water, you'll see fish going everywhere and birds will come down. So whales seem very aware of stuff flying around them. In about 500 flights, I think I've had 15 responses, and some of them was like, what the hell is that? Do you know what I mean? They're not when I stuck an arrow in them, like, you know what I mean? And I'll just say quickly, I'm sorry if I'm going on too long, but 3 years ago when I started this, the authorities didn't want me flying drones over whales. And they're now saying they think for critically endangered species that we should do a drone-based health assessment first before we do any other work. So for example, if all three of you here were critically endangered and you were sick, do you know what I mean? Then we'd stick the arrows in them. Do you know what I mean? So it's amazing though, in 3 years, we've gone from don't fly the drone to, you know, you have to do the drone first. I can tell you a lot of my friends who were very cynical of me going down the drone road are like, no, we now have to wait for Iain or his peers to do their work first. All right, well, listen. What's interesting is I've been very lucky that a bunch of my friends, or a bunch of fellow lecturers over the years have been astronauts, okay? And they've told me, you know, when they're up on the space station, they are so aware of that closed system. Do you know what I mean? They keep everything. Like they'll reuse the duct tape. I don't even know what it costs to get that up into orbit. And I believe it is true. They are recycling the urine. I might take my own bottle of water, but anyway. But the one thing they've all told me is that they come back to Earth changed. Because if you can step away from the planet and look back, you sort of realize that we're actually living on spaceship Earth. And right now, I don't think there are any resupply missions. So I think it's really important that we sort of take all these incredible technologies we've got and we try to apply them to the benefit of the wild world. And you can do it because you love animals, or you can do it for your own self-interest, okay? Because if we don't have healthy oceans, we won't have healthy humans. Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Kern.